All right, so one of the questions that you guys are going to try to get, and I know I have to kind of rewrite some of the instructions on some of these questions because I don't like the way they state it, but I like the way this one is stated, so I'm going to write these out for you guys. It's going to say, write the polynomial in standard form given the following zeros. Now remember, zeros means answers, right? The following solutions, the following roots, right? There's many different ways that we can say the word zeros. Now, if you recall, the reason why they call them zeros is because they're touching the x-axis, which means that the y value is 0, right? If you write it as a point, it's something comma 0, right? So they call them zeros. So write the polynomial in standard form given the following zeros. So we're going to start easy, and then we'll do another one where it has like 3, and then we're going to do another one where it has imaginary numbers, okay? So we'll start with this. So those are my two answers. So supposedly I did a problem, and I factored it and everything, and my answers were x equals 2 and x equals to negative 3. They're saying, hey, could you work backwards? If I gave you the answers, can you tell me where they came from? Right? That's basically what they're asking me. So if I have to work backwards, then I would say, okay, I got this answer and I got this answer, right? That's the way it would have looked like at the end of my problem, right? Like, here are my two solutions. What did it look like before I solved for x? Well, those numbers were probably on the other side. So I'm going to move the 2 over, and I'm going to move the negative 3 over. It's going to look like this. Are you guys okay? Are you with me on that? Just moving the numbers over to the side, setting it equal to 0. That's important. We want to set them equal to 0. That's why we call them the zeros, right? They're equal to 0. So what you do next is you're going to get these two factors. Notice I'm going to put parentheses around them. And I'm going to write them right next to each other. So x minus 2, x plus 3. And I'm going to set them equal to 0. Why do I set them equal to 0? Well, because that's called the zero product property. Look at the very last step. If you have two things equal to 0, then you can set each one of them equal to 0. So work backwards. So go from the bottom up. That's the zero product property. Okay? So all I have to do now is just FOIL, and then I'm done with this problem. Okay? So distribute. So let's go ahead and distribute. X times x, x times 3. So x times x is x squared. X times 3, that's 3x. And then negative 2 times x and negative 2 times 3. So negative 2 times x is negative 2x, and negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. And that's equal to 0. So I'm just going to join my two terms in the middle that are like terms. Okay, I'll highlight them for us here. These are like terms. So I'll join them together. So 3x minus 2x is 1x. So I'm going to write x squared plus x minus 6 equals 0. And I am done. Now I want you guys to notice, if you read this from the bottom up, it's like you actually solved a problem. Right? You started with an equation equal to 0, you broke it apart, you factored it, you set them equal to 0, you solved each one individually, and your answers were x equals to 2 and x equals to negative 3, right? So that's what these problems are all about. They're like making you go back to the future, sort of, right? They're saying, hey, look, here are your answers. Where did they come from? Right? Can you figure out where you got them? Usually they say, here's a problem, figure out the answers. Right? These problems are saying, here are the answers, figure out the problem. Okay? So again, this was kind of an easier one because of the fact that it only had 2 answers. The ones you're going to be getting on your test are going to tend to have 3 answers. Okay? So let me show you one of those. So number 2, I'm going to put same instruction as number 1. Okay? In other words, find the zeros in standard form for a polynomial function. And here are the answers. Let's say those. -1, 2, and 3. And we're going to do the exact same thing we just did. The only difference is now we're going to have 3 things that we're going to be multiplying. Okay? So we're going to start off just like we did the last time. If these are my 3 answers, let me list them, right? X equals -1. X equals 2. X equals 3. All right, so now that we have our 3 answers, we're going to move them over so that we can set this stuff equal to 0, right? So we're going to move this over here. We're going to move this over here, move this over there. So it's going to look like this. X plus 1 equals 0. X minus 2 equals 0. X minus 3 equals 0. And remember, what I want to do with this, I'm going to put them in parentheses, and I want to multiply them all out, okay? So I want to multiply everything out. So I got x plus 1, x minus 2, x minus 3 equals 0. Now this is like, I guess you could say the hard part for some people, because this multiplication is going to get a little lengthy, but it's not terrible. It's just going to get a little lengthy. So let me go ahead and do that with you guys here. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to distribute all of this. But notice there's 3 of them, not just 2, right? So just start with the first 2. So here we go. We're going to do x times x and x times -2. So here we go. We got x times x is x squared. X times -2 is a -2x. And now let's do the same thing with that positive 1, okay? The positive 1 times x and the positive 1 times a -2. That's a plus x minus 2 times x minus 3 equals 0. Now simplify that long expression first, and then you're going to have to multiply again, okay? And like I said, that's the part that really messes with people, because they're like, oh, it's going to be a lot of work. Yeah, it's a little lengthy, but it's not terrible. It's just multiplication. So here we go. X squared minus x minus 2, because -2x plus x is a -x, times x minus 3 equals 0. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and distribute one more time, and then we'll be done. Okay, so we got to distribute. Now I'm going to call this backward distribution because I'm going to go backwards, okay? X times x squared, x times -x, x times -2, okay? That's what I'm going to do. Multiply those. So x times x squared is x cubed. X times -x is -x squared. X times -2 is -2x. And now we're going to do that -3 into everything. So -3 times x squared is -3x squared. -3 times -x is a positive 3x. And a -3 times a -2 is a positive 6. And that's all equal to 0. So as soon as you just simplify this, you're done. Just combine like terms. Let's highlight them here. I got an x squared with the -3x squared. I got a -2x with the positive 3x. Those are my like terms right there, okay? So let's combine them. So x cubed, -x squared minus 3x squared is a -4x squared. -2x plus 3x is a positive x plus 6. equals 0, and you're done. Now, I want to show you guys 3 of these problems because we still haven't done the imaginary answers. Okay, now we try to give you as easy as possible imaginary problem, so that's what I'm going to show you, something that we can make it as easy as possible, because if we do anything more to it, it becomes more difficult. And that's the good news about your quiz, is it is going to be an easier type question, so that's good. Okay. But notice both of these problems that we've done, we start with the answers. We set them equal to 0, we multiply them out, and then we're done. Okay? Same with this one. Now, on your quiz, I can tell you that they are going to give you problems with 3 zeros, like this. This is what you should expect to see on your quiz, okay? Like this type of work. Okay? The one that we did for example 1, at least from what I understood, it wasn't going to be that small, not 2 answers. They want you to do 3 answers twice. One with normal numbers, one with imaginary. So we're going to do the imaginary right now. After that, we'll do some division, and then we'll be done. Okay? But these are taking a little bit more of our time because of the fact that these are the harder ones. So I want to make sure that we go over the harder ones first. The type of imaginary question they're going to ask you guys is something like this. So same instruction. As number 1. All right. So notice it's just 2. So you're like, oh wait, you said there wasn't going to be anything with just 2. They're going to be 3s. Well, yeah, there's 3 answers here. You just don't see the third one, right? But if you guys recall, when I taught imaginary numbers to you guys, I told you that imaginary numbers always come in pairs. They're never all by themselves, okay? If you have a positive 3i, then you also have a negative 3i. If you have like a negative 5i, you also have a positive 5i. So anytime you see an imaginary number as a solution, that means that its counterpart is also there. So there should be a positive and a negative. Okay? So notice there are 3 solutions here. It just looks like 2 though, but there are 3. Okay? So let's go ahead and work this out. X equals 2. X equals 3i. And x equals negative 3i. The nice thing about imaginary numbers is that they tend to cancel out in between, so it does make the work a little bit simpler. So I actually prefer these types of problems over like number 2. So let's go ahead and move everything over, right? We're going to move the 2 this way, the 3i this way, the negative 3i this way. Let's move that stuff over. We get x minus 2 equals 0. X minus 3i equals 0. X plus 3i equals 0. Notice, just because there's imaginary answers doesn't mean that this is much harder. It's the same thing. Okay, we are just going to multiply and stuff. You're just going to have to remember, what does I squared equal to? Anybody remember that? Negative 1. Okay, very important you guys remember that, okay? I squared is negative 1, so that's going to be something we use eventually. So let's go ahead and make these into parentheses so we can multiply. And my biggest hint for you guys when you do this, multiply out the imaginary stuff first. Trust me, don't do the other ones or else it's going to be a huge mess. I want you to multiply these out first. Okay, don't do the x minus 2. Leave that alone. Trust me. All right, so let's multiply the imaginaries first. So x times x, x times 3i. So x minus 2. X times x is x squared. And x times 3i is 3ix. Positive, right? Positive 3ix. I know it looks weird. Just bear with me. Now let's multiply the negative 3i's with the other two terms. So negative 3i times x is a negative 3ix. And negative 3i times a positive 3i is a negative 9i squared. Now look at the middle terms right here. What's going to happen to those? Yeah, they cancel. They're gone. And that's great. And what happens to the I squared? You see that minus 9i squared? What happens to the I squared? What does it become? A negative 1. So that minus 9i squared is just going to become a plus 9. Okay? So here we go. X minus 2, x squared, plus 9. Okay? How did that happen? Negative 9i squared is negative 9 times negative 1, which is a positive 9. Okay, that's what happened right there. That's why it became a plus 9. And then the bottom, you just got to multiply that out and you're done. Okay? But notice, if you do the imaginary stuff first, it'll be easier to work on. Okay? So, let me distribute at the end here. So we're going to distribute here and here. Just curious, what time do we get out of here?
I think 47.
47, right? Okay. So, all right, x times x squared, that's x cubed. And then x times 9, that's plus 9x. Okay, now negative 2 times x squared is negative 2x squared. And negative 2 times 9 is negative 18. Now all you got to do is write this in standard form, meaning go from highest power to lowest power. So x cubed minus 2x squared plus 9x minus 18 equals 0. Now, if you don't do that, just look for it in the multiple choice, and you should be able to find the right one. You don't always have to rewrite it like I did, but that's how you're going to be working on those. Okay? So I want to try to do just one more example with you guys, because I really just did the hard stuff for you guys right now. I think the division hopefully isn't terrible for you, but we're going to work on one division problem, and then that's pretty much all the time we're going to have. So let me try to do one division problem with you guys, and that'll be it. Now, the good news is that division problems are not really long. They're all 3 terms at the most, so they're not going to be really long problems, okay? So here's the last one. 6x plus, we'll just say 3, and we're going to divide it by, let's just say 2x minus 1. Alright, so this is long division. Okay, that's what you guys just did yesterday. Long division. So let's go ahead and divide this out, and then we're done. Oh, I was wrong. So, alright, so what we're going to do is we are going to divide this out. 2x squared plus 6x plus 3 divided by 2x minus 1. Now remember, you're going to ask yourself, how many times does 2x go into 2x squared? Well, that's x times. So you're going to multiply x times these two things. So it's going to be 2x squared minus x if you multiply it out. Now remember, you're supposed to subtract. Let me erase these little lines here. So 2x squared minus 2x squared is 0. Negative 6x minus a negative x is a positive 7x. And we got to drop this 3. Now you got to ask yourself, 2x goes into 7x how many times? That's 3 times. So I'm going to put a plus 3 here. And you're going to multiply the 3 times the 2x and the negative 1. So that's going to be 6x minus 3. And you're going to subtract. Okay? Now, at this point, what you're going to do is you're going to subtract this out. This gives you x, and 3 minus a negative 3 is a plus 6. Now this is, since there's nothing else to drop, this is my remainder. Okay? and it's going to fall over this number. So my answer for this problem, here's my solution, x plus 3, okay, is going to look like this. X plus 3 plus x plus 6 over 2x minus 1. I really don't like the way that turned out. I wish I could have made this a little different there, but the answer is the same. It's remainder over what you're dividing by. Okay, and this should be your answer.